Welcome to the Whiskey Pit. I'm here with my friend Brandon. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Lyle?
Good, man. So today on the Whiskey Pit, we're going to talk to Brandon about a couple things. One is what he's doing, what he's got on the pit outside, and what he just actually finished up with. And then we're going to talk about these three whiskeys. Two of them are bourbons. One of them is a whiskey, and the difference. But we're going to try them and then see if we can just kind of tell the difference between the three. Before we start, Brandon, why don't you tell us what you got finished cooking today?
So today on the pit I had some briskets, I did some poppers, and I did a couple turkey breasts. Lyle and his family came over just in time to finish up the briskets. They got to help me wrap them and stuff, and we'll see videos of that shortly. But yeah, old school offset, stick burner, fire management, keeping all that in mind when you're doing the briskets, and we'll go over that in those videos.
So what's this in front of us right now? These,
Right here in front of me, we got some of the poppers that I've made. I'd made poppers countless times before, but this is the first time on my offset, and I think they turned out really well. Standard jalapeno popper. I did not use cream cheese though. I filled with breakfast sausage and either sharp cheddar cheese or Munster cheese. It was kind of a toss-up. And when I put them on the pit, I did not distinguish between the two, so it was a crapshoot when you went to get one. Both turned out really well, I thought. The sausage was actually a local raised pig that we had, and it's really good. The turkey breast, I did a little different technique on this one. Didn't go straight in the pit. I actually did a different technique in the house here first, and then finished it on the pit. It's a little less smoky, but usually, people that are going for the turkey, they're not looking for that big smoky bite. But it turned out super moist, and I'm really happy with that, how that turned out.
So let's talk about the turkey, I guess, for a second. What's a little different about that? What did you do different? You said you did something a little different.
So my technique, I've gotten into the sous vide cooking, and I'm not sure if you guys know about it, heard about it. Essentially, it's cooking in water. So I took the turkey breast, I brined them I had two. They were 5.5 pounds apiece. Made a simple brine I just found on the internet with just some brown sugar and salt, a few other spices. Typically stuff you'd have on a Thanksgiving turkey: rosemary, thyme, salt and pepper. Real basic. Had them in the sous vide for 5.5 pounds. It was 4 hours. Took them out, immediately crashed them in an ice water bath until I was ready to put them on the pit. Before I put them on the pit, took them out of the bag, saved the juices. I'm gonna actually use that to make a gravy later, but just barely sprinkled them with a little bit of pepper, just to give it that barbecue-esque look. Put them on the pit and
how long were they on the pit?
Just long enough to heat them up and give them a little color. So these, I had them on the back of the pit on the top rack. That was running a little hot. It was probably about 280 up in that corner. For the most part, it took about 2 hours.
Okay.
And I got them warm enough to slice. And I brought them in vac seal, wrapped them in cellophane, and then rested them for about an hour before I put them in the fridge. And then before Lyle and his family came over, I put them, just had it back in a sous vide bath to heat it up. It did take a few minutes.
A sous vide bath.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And we can go over that too. I can show you mine I've got over there. I've got all kinds of stuff I do with that. Some people will say that's not barbecuing. You're right, it's definitely not, but it's coming. So adapt or die. That's the way I look at it.
Adapt or die. It was on the pit though, so
it was in the pit. It did get smoked. That is correct.
Smoked. So the reason why I brought these three out here tonight, these whiskeys, is a rye. So all three of them are some type of rye. So 1792 is considered a high rye. Smoke Wagon definitely is a high rye. And then Sazerac, definitely tells you right up on the bat it's a rye, right? So it is not a bourbon. And for those of you who know the difference, you can go ahead and probably skip past this. For those of you who don't, so bourbons have to be 51% corn. So these two The basic ingredient of these two is corn, 51%. Sazerac rye, on the other hand, is a whiskey. It's not a bourbon. It is at least 51% rye. So it is not a bourbon. It is a whiskey. And it's going to have more rye than the other two. Out of these two, Smoke Wagon is 36% rye. 1792, the best guess is somewhere between 15 and 25% rye. And their mash bill is not to public knowledge. They are owned by, actually, Sazerac. Sazerac, for those of you know, is a very large company. It owns a lot of different brands, including Buffalo Trace, and all those connected to it. They don't really tell their mash bills, so you just kind of figure it out. So we know that because it's a rye whiskey, it's at least 51% rye. What we don't know is exactly how much rye beyond that it is. And again, most people will say 1792 is somewhere between 15 and 25%. We know that it's because it is a bourbon that it is 51% corn. Above that, we don't know exactly how much rye, but we know it's a high rye. Anyway, so we're going to start off tonight with, put that front for us. We're going to first start out with tasting 1792, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about barbecue. So,
well, I'll tell you something a little newer to the bourbon whiskey scene. Most of what I've tried are bourbons. So what am I looking for when you say a rye? What am I going to taste?
So with the rye, it's going to be a little spicier, a little more spice to it. Not necessarily spicy, right? But there's going to be spice to it. Out of these, this is going to be in the 90 proof. So it's not going to be necessarily as hot. It's hot. When I say hot, different from barbecue, right? They're smoky.
Mm-hmm.
When they say something's hot, they mean you're going to taste more of the alcohol.
Gotcha.
The higher the proof, the more hot it is.
Got it.
This is not. This is under 100, so it's not going to be hot. You're going to get probably just a little more spice. We'll see what you smell.
Okay.
So normally this is considered neat when it's just in a glass by itself. So we're going to try it neat. We're going to try it with a couple of drops of water in a minute. They say that opens the flavor. And then we're going to maybe try it, over ice. So as I say, most of my videos, bourbon really is however you want to drink. There's no rhyme or reason. There will be people out there that say you have to just drink it neat, and God bless them. And if you're one of those individuals, then God bless you and drink it how you like it. But I believe
same with barbecue.
However you want to drink it is how you drink it. So,
right.
You let me know what you smell, maybe what you drink.
I don't even know what that smell is, but I like it. I'd say it's like those oak barrels. I'm definitely smelling, just from barbecuing and having the oak barrel chips and stuff I've used before. That is definitely what I smell in there. Definitely a spice. There is a spice to that. Yep. But it goes away. Finish is nice.
So normally, and those especially with people who are not used to drinking bourbon, the first drink is always going to be a little bit more upfront, right? It's going to be kind of in your face sometimes, and that's okay. It's okay. It scares off some people, honestly, but it gets better as it goes on, right?
It's good.
It's awesome.
I like it.
So.
Yeah, definitely the second one was not as hot as that first one, or spicy as the first one. I can't tell what that one flavor. There's a flavor there, and I know it, but I don't know what's. I don't. It's.
I really like it. I'll be honest with you.
I am
very
enjoying
tasty.
it. It is. I 100% agree. I was like, go ahead and take another one because I want another one too. And there's something there. It's almost.
So I think it's a little bit caramel.
Okay. Again, I'm totally novice at this.
And again, everyone's palate's different, honestly. So some people taste different notes than others. There's no.
I'm with you on the caramel. I got you there. I don't know what else to.
So let's try a couple drops of water. You don't have to do a lot. Some people do, some people don't.
That was definitely got caramel. How many you do?
I just did again. Each wrong. I did 3. You do what you want. Just kind of opens up the flavor palette for the most. Opens up the flavor profile.
So, I'm curious about this. Just 3 drops of water.
I mean, again, as much as you want. So it kind of doesn't. There's no right or wrong answer.
It did. It did. It's not as. I could taste the difference in that. That's amazing.
So
Definitely got caramel that time. It like toned it down.
Yeah.
That spicy part. So now I can smell it.
So now, yeah, kind of. It'd be interesting to see how as we progress here in a minute how you'll see the difference of the different ones. So.
I'm gonna keep that one to the side.
Yeah, let's put aside. Let's talk about barbecue a little bit more. So, what do you? So you said you did briskets today.
Mm-hmm.
So on your cooker, it's an offset. You said.
Mm-hmm. Standard, just call them stick burners.
Okay, it's a stick burner. So
Yeah.
let's talk. So last week the episode I did, we talked to the guy. He had a pellet burner.
Mm-hmm.
Complete opposite of that, right? So this is stick burner.
It's definitely different. Yeah.
Different. So let's talk about the difference of the two. So stick burner came along well before pellet burners.
Oh yeah, this is probably one of the first ones. This is after they. Oh my gosh, I don't know my exact barbecue history, but it came after the pit. Essentially, the pit. The reason we call it the pit, it was a hole dug in the ground. They dig the pit, and it would be long. It probably maybe as wide as this table, maybe not even quite that wide. But it's just a long pit, and they lay wood all down in it, burn the wood, get it down to coals, and then lay the meat over the top of it. And then there would be a couple of their jobs just to maintain that and watch the meat and let it cook to feed everybody, like the whole like the ranch, everybody. That they would do it for big gatherings. So this is the evolution of that. What the hard part of that was, the meat is right over the coals that you had to get to maintain or to keep going. What the offset does is it puts the fire in a box off to the side, keeps the meat in the cook chamber. So now you can better maintain your fire, better fire management, which equates to better barbecue. That's what it comes down to. The more accurate you can be with your fire, the more precise, the better, the cleaner you burn it, the better product you're going to get out.
But you're manually feeding that fire the entire time.
Yeah, I set timers to keep myself on it, so I can do other things to remind me to go back and check. With multiple briskets in the cooker, it's about 120 gallons, so I was doing 5 briskets in order to do that and keep them relatively even in temps as far as getting them all done at the same time. You have to rotate them through the fire, through the cook chamber. So at any one time, there's 1 or 2 up in the front, close to the firebox, getting all the heat. And then for me, I rotate them every 30 minutes. I try to maintain, at the start of the cook, I'll try to maintain 225 to 250. And as the cook progresses, I'll get hotter. For the first 3 hours, I'm running 225, 250, like I said. After that, the bark's pretty much set. Then I'll move on and kick it up to 250, 260, 265 maybe, until the briskets get to the stall. And I know these are terms we might have to go over in other videos and stuff, but the stall is essentially, once you put the briskets in or any large hunk of meat in the cooker, it starts absorbing heat. The temp in it will start rising. If you've got a probe in it, you'll see that immediately. It's almost, if you graph it, it'll just be going at a steady climb, almost at a 45 or even steeper on that graph going up. And all of a sudden, it'll hit 160, 165, and you'll see this plateau just happen. And what happens there is the meat fibers have absorbed all the heat they can get, and they're starting to shrink and compress, and they're getting, you'll feel it, it'll get hard. You can just pick it up on one end and the brisket will lay flat out. It'll get really hard. And what it does then is it starts pushing moisture out. Once it starts to do that, usually around the 175, depending on the brisket again, and the grade of meat you got, 180 at the most, it'll start coming out, and that's when it's starting to push the juice out, because it's got hot enough now it's going to express it. That is the key for me. And a lot of guys won't do this, and I've done it both ways. That's when I'll wrap it, and that'll help keep that juice in. And that typically happens at about the 7 to 8 hour mark, somewhere right in there, depending on how hot you're running it, if you're running it up. And after I've wrapped it, your bark is set and everything's protected, you can kick that fire right on up and finish them off pretty quick. A couple times mine hit 300 or a little more, and it didn't worry me at all, just because I know they're wrapped. They're not going to burn or anything, and it's keeping that juice in there to keep it done. If anything, it helps get it done a little quicker.
So let's talk about, before we continue on, and I don't mean to kind of go backtrack for just a second.
Please.
So we talked about, and then again, before you even get to there, so there's a misnomer, and again, these may be questions that a lot of you already know if you do a lot of barbecuing and you're big on this, and for those of you who may be new, this questions. Setting your meat out before going on the barbecue pit.
Sure.
Do you do that or do you not do that?
It's, for me, it's if I planned it out right and I get up in time, because I like doing my cooks. I like getting up early and doing them and finishing them like now, being done. I have done it where I've started started now and went through the night. If it keeps getting hotter, I'll probably do that too. They're not really a misnomer. It's just like setting steaks out. And then I'm going to preface all this real quick. The only meat you can do this with is beef. Don't do this with any other. Don't pork, especially not poultry. Don't do it with those. The risk of salmonella or any of that is really high with those. Beef is the only one you can do it with. So if I'm doing steaks, for instance, definitely I'll lay those out. I try to get them out at least an hour ahead of time to let them come up to room temp, or at least start temping up. Briskets, even if you get them out an hour ahead, that large chunk of meat is so big, it's still going to be relatively cold when you put it on the pit. That means that it helps. For me, it'll help. How do I say it? It helps that bark, I guess. It helps the seasoning you've got on there. Once it starts to heat up like that, it'll start to sweat when you've got it out. So if it comes out cold and you've got it on the counter, it'll start to moisture condensate on it. That helps set that bark when you put it on the pit. The more moisture you have in your pit as you're going with like water pans or anything like that, the better your bark will set. So I could see that happening as well. Do I set them out? If I get up in the morning and I think about it, yes, I'll have all my briskets rubbed and ready in a tub, and I'll pull that tub out, set it out, and then I'll go fire up the pit. For me, on my pit, I have all my water pans set up the night before. I'll say all my water pans. I use 2. I have one in the bottom.
Let's talk about water pans, because again, you're the expert here when it comes to barbecue.
I don't call it.
So,
not an expert.
what is a water pan? Let's talk about that.
So, water pan is just what it sounds. It's a pan full of water that you put in the pit somewhere, usually between the meat and the fire. In a pellet grill or a pellet cooker, pellet smoker, there'll be a fire bowl in the bottom. Put that water pan directly over it, and then put your meat right above that. In my offset, and we'll have pictures of that somehow, or we'll get a diagram. You have the firebox to the side. You have the cook chamber. Between right where that firebox comes into the cook chamber, I have a water pan right there. The first thing that heat hits is water.
Why is it so important?
Couple reasons. So I use a full hotel pan. It's like 6 inches deep. So I got a big water pan. As that water heats up, and as I'm checking the briskets or going in and out of the pit for other reasons, that water is like a heat sink. It will help me regain heat back in the pit when I close it back up after I'm done. The more I keep the pit even or at the temp that I want it, the quicker stuff gets done. That's just how it is. Second reason is it adds moisture to the cook chamber. Moisture, again, it's like, this is how it was explained to me why we use these. So think of yourself in the jungle, you got high humidity, you're not doing a whole lot of anything, and you're just sweating. That's just because you're actually cooler, or your skin's actually cooler than with the outside, and so the water from the air is going to condensate on you and make you sweat. So that's kind of what we want the meat to do. So the meat will go in. It's definitely colder than the pit because obviously it's cooking. As you've got humidity in there, those water droplets are going to condensate on that meat, on your seasoning, which once you get that kind of moist and wet on there, all the particulates that are coming in from the smoke, all the stuff, the combustion from the wood, that's what's going to create your bark on that brisket or ribs or whatever it is you're cooking in there. And everybody, for me, brisket, the bark's worth that, man. You want the bark. I'll go for those burn ends every time. So you want that. You want the more humidity you have in there, the more moisture is going to stick to the meat. Actually, it'll help it even cook a little bit quicker. I mean, steam cooks faster than steamed vegetables cook faster than boiled vegetables. So there you go. There's that. So it helps a couple things. Maintaining your temp when you have to go in and out of the pit to move, like for me, moving the briskets around, and then also getting that bark. That's the money bite. That's what you want right there.
All right, before we go on, let's go ahead and do the next whiskey up. But right before we do, 1792. Just a little trivia. It was named after the year that Kentucky was made a state.
Okay.
That's what it was. So for those of you who may want that myself. Smoke wagon. So smoke wagon. Next up, about 36% rye.
Okay.
We'll see what it does. So we'll think about it.
Okay. Right off the bat, I can smell it. I smell the spice.
See, I think it smells sweeter to me.
Really?
I don't know.
As soon as that it opened up my nostrils. So I put it up there. Yes, sir. I'm with you, huh? It ain't as spicy. That tricked me.
It's funny because it's higher proof.
Yeah.
And it's higher rye.
It didn't hit me as hard as that one at first at all. That was. Get a little more caramel in it. A little more than that, at least at first. Maybe now I know what I'm tasting for here, but. I know that'd probably be really good with brisket. Yeah, and then comparing the two.
So this doesn't have, to me, this has less of a bite on the backside.
Absolutely. It goes away.
In 1792.
Yes. 100%.
Does not have, it's just a lot more finish, a lot smoother finish in 1792.
Yes.
1792, to me at least, has flavor on the front side, but it finishes harsh.
Okay.
I guess not harsh is not the right word, but it's more of a bite on the backside.
Definitely more than this one.
Why? Smoke wagon is smooth almost all the way through.
Yes.
At least for me.
At least when I smelled it, that kind of, it opened me right up. Maybe it was just something in there or whatever right then, but I agree with you. This is definitely smoother.
Without, again, we haven't even put drops of water in it or anything. It just seems smooth all the way through, and it finishes very smooth for me.
Yes. Real.
Yeah.
Like it goes way fast. Let's do the water and see what
Yeah, let's see what happens.
analogy there. You're talking, everybody's palate's a little different.
It
They
is.
gotta taste something else that somebody else wouldn't see. And honestly, you couldn't explain barbecue any better. Everybody's a little different. Everybody does their own little thing different. That's why there's so many different barbecue places out there.
Yeah, so let's, one thing I was talking about that, and we're going to taste this here. So what about a lot of people that I've seen, especially videos and everything else, everybody uses mustard as a binding agent. Do you use mustard as a binding agent?
I have.
Okay.
I've used it. You can use. I saw a video once, and it was Myron Mixon. I don't know if I can say his name or not, but I did. I'm thinking whatever. It's on YouTube. He didn't like using mustard because he didn't like the flavor profile that it added. Honestly, when you put mustard on as a binder, it's such a thin layer. All you're putting it on there for is to hold the rub on. That's all you're doing. In that pit, most of the time I use mustard on pork butts. That's what I grew up. That's how I learned to do it. That's what I always did. If you can taste mustard in it after it's been on that pit for 12 hours,
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, so
there is no mustard.
for instance, my wife doesn't like mustard, but I love mustard or whatever.
Sure.
Does she? I mean, I don't think she's ever mentioned she's ever tasted it, and I can't tell you I've ever tasted it.
When you use it as a binder,
you use it as a binder, right?
Honestly,
So
there's several things. Like for these briskets, for instance, and we've got video of that too. We'll put that up. I just got a little tap water. All you need is for the skin or the meat to be a little moist in order for the rub to stick. Once it's stuck, usually the salt content in it will start reacting with the meat on there, start pulling hemoglobin out, and that really gets it to stick. That's all you're really looking for. Pork butts I can see doing this because there's such a big fat layer on those usually, at least on the one side. Getting it to stick to that, but if your rub's got a little salt in it, usually the salt's enough. Again, all you really want is just for it to be a little bit wet, a little moist. And you can use anything. Vinegar, apple cider vinegar is a big one. Some people use mustard, hot sauce. I've seen people rubbing with hot sauce. Anything. Honestly, all you're really doing is getting it to stick. Unless, I can't even imagine you could put this much on there that it would stick on. It's going to just melt off in the pit. I'm pretty sure you're never going to taste the binder that you use on the meat. Now, afterwards, if you've cooked it, and you've got a sauce that you make with it, then you're going to taste it, obviously, because you're going to put it on after the cook. But again, all you're trying to do is get that seasoning to stick. So you can use just about anything.
So you think the water changed it all? To me, the water I can taste the peppery more. To me, it changed it. I can taste a lot more pepper.
It got a little more, if you want to call it
more spice.
Yeah, got a little spicier.
More spicy, more pepper.
Yeah, so it opened that. That's funny because it did the kind of opposite of that one. It's still really not. I like it.
Yeah, I still like it.
Between the two, I don't know which one I would shoot. Honestly, I'd like whichever one I think was open.
It's funny because, before I couldn't tell. For the water, I could not taste kind of the peppery spice.
Yeah. It finishes,
now
I wouldn't say it finishes a little spicier now. Like I can taste that on my tongue a little.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So
neat would be smoother.
Yes, that's what it would be. So it's very interesting to me. So this comes out of Las Vegas.
Okay.
So Nevada. So just before
Smoke wagon. I like the name.
So there you had 5 briskets on?
I had 5 today, yes, sir. That's about, for my pit, that's about as the most I can do. I think I did do 6 one time. But I'm getting really close to the fire pit, or the firebox then. And there's a section there I just won't put any meat just because it gets too hot too fast. I can't, even if I've got a low fire. If I get the fire low enough that I can put stuff there, the stuff in the back's not getting anything. It would just take a lot longer. That's the only kind of downfall to an offset is like that immediate, foot or half, depending on how big your cooker is. For me, it's about a foot. Right up next to the firebox is that's like the kill zone, we'll call it, because it'll just nuke it.
So what adds time to cooking the brisket? Is it the weight of the brisket or the number of briskets you cook?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I have found that out. If I do one or two, I can, and I get my weight ranges. Obviously, a bigger brisket is going to take longer to cook. And that's just how it is. A larger mass of meat will take longer for heat to penetrate in there to get it up to temp. So there's that. And then when you multiply that, say by, like for me, is for instance, I had 5. That takes up. So you got so much heat coming in, so many BTUs coming in. The meat's going to start absorbing those, and by the time it goes out, it's done sucked. I don't know how much it's sucked out, but it's the temp from the firebox to the exhaust has went down. When I'm usually running my temps, I can get within 10 degrees, and then usually I'll have about a 10. I like to maintain between 10, at the most 50, between the firebox and the stack. So before I put the meat in, it'll almost be even. If I put the meat in, obviously it's heat and it's going up and over and all the thermodynamics and all that stuff, but it is absorbing heat. So it is taking that out of there, so you're losing temp there. So the more meat you have in there, the longer it's going to take. And my last 3 cooks have been the longest that I've done, just because I've had the smoker pretty full. Yeah, 1 or 2 briskets, and as long as they're about, I like to get them in the 14-pound range. By the time I trim them, they're about 12 and a half. I can get it down and have them done in 12 hours. So almost on the money. About an hour a pound is what I shoot for. These were all a little bit bigger. I was doing these for some guys at work that I work with, and I got them all about 15 to 16 pounds to start. Trimmed them down. Most of them were in the 14-pound range. I haven't weighed them yet. They're actually in a cooler resting right now. I'll back seal and I'll weigh them before I give them out, and I'll see how much they lost. But typically they use about 50% of their weight, so I'm looking at probably some 7-pound briskets. There's one that's pretty small, but I don't think it was a 14 when I started. I think it's only about a 12. But again, that one would normally cook quicker, but because it's in the mix with all those other 5, they all finished right about the same time. So that was, I'm gonna chalk that up as a win as far as a good rotation routine going there to get them all done about the same time.
All right, talking about rotation, let's rotate from the bourbons.
All right.
To the last Sazerac Rye, which is a whiskey, as we said, and we'll see what happens here.
Oh, we're expecting. Or you don't want to give me any?
No, let's see what this says. So Sazerac, as I said, it's a company. It's actually headquartered in New Orleans. It has a large principal office in Louisville, Kentucky. Owns Buffalo Trace, but the name is from Sazerac Coffee House, which they bought way back in the day. And so long history, great company. They have a bunch of different names, but this is a rye. So it'll be interesting to see what you think about it. We'll do another episode eventually, just kind of going over a number of different Buffalo Trace products and different flavor profiles they have. But
it's almost like the smoothest one yet. At least at the front for sure. Has a lip, just a tiny bit.
see, I think there's a lot more pepper for me.
Really?
For me, again, we all have different profiles. So
I must like pepper then, because and honestly, you see my briskets, yeah, I do.
it's not a bad deal. I mean, it's not bad. I'm just,
Wow, no, I thought the first one had a little more spicy, peppery taste to me than this one. But maybe it's because now I'm on the third. I'm getting numb to it, but no, it doesn't.
It's not bad. You can find it anywhere for about $30, maybe less. I mean, you can find it pretty easy accessibility. So, what do you think? So, any of these, including this one, how do you think it'll pair with brisket or with any of these that you made today? The jalapeno poppers, for instance,
So that
turkey, or
honestly, the turkey's pretty good. As far as smokiness goes, the turkey's probably the least, and
Okay.
it was by design.
which is fine.
So I don't know. These might overpower that.
Okay, it's great advice. Great advice.
I'm just, but poppers, oh man, those weren't crazy spicy. Like when I made them, I take all the heat out of them, so to speak, all the seeds in the vein.
Yeah, no,
But
because they have the sausage in it,
a little bit of sausage in there. Man, I don't know which one I'd pick, but I think they'd go with honestly with any of them.
So you think that Rise would go? That's just my question, I guess. Do you think Rise would go with jalapeno poppers? Do you think it's a great mix or not? I mean, you're the.
Well, let's find it.
Let's try. Let's try it out.
I'm gonna start with the one we just had. I would tell you that opened up that jalapeno for me, as far as there wasn't a whole lot of jalapeno taste
It
there.
actually kind of smoothed it out for me.
Really? I mean, well, I say smooth. It didn't make it hot, but I smelled it more. The
No, but the
jalapeno part.
flavor, it opened up the flavor for the Sazerac rice for me.
Oh, okay. I was talking about what it did to the popper.
That's funny. That's the opposite, right? So, to me, the sweetness of the jalapeno, right?
Mm-hmm.
It tamed down the spiciness of the rye, right? The combination.
I would
So you
agree. 100%.
Taste the flavor of all of it.
Yes. I got jalapeno filled my whole olfactory right when that hit. There's a jalapeno. Not that it's bad. It's just you knew it was a jalapeno. That was all.
Yeah, but I in the spice way, or just flavor way,
Just the flavor.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it didn't make it any hotter or anything like that at all. It's just like, ooh, that's a jalapeno, and you just smelled it. You knew it.
Yeah, I definitely think ryes are a perfect match for that.
It's really good. It's really good. I hate we didn't have. I'm gonna do another one with them. Gotta let those briskets rest. That's the only thing. All right, I sliced right into one. It was a long cook, and we had a little bit of a rainstorm here toward the end. That kind of dampened it a little bit, but yeah, I think it'd go good with the brisket too. That's at least with the rub I got. Like I was saying, I like peppers.
I'm gonna try this
mine,
smoke wagon now.
oh, with the
jalapeno pop.
All right. That might be the one I like. That one did the opposite for me. That I got more of the whiskey out of that one than
Popper?
the popper. So the popper brought out the whiskey to me on that one. It was good though. It was good though.
It was good.
Are we doing it again?
So
I'm just curious.
now we just have to try some turkey and we're here. Why not? And yes, we are using our fingers because we're guys.
That's what these were made for.
Oh man.
I don't necessarily. Yeah, I think that's had the turkey in there, took the sip, killed the turkey. Essentially, I didn't. Again, though, the turkey's super mild. Like it's really tame. And that was with the smoke wagon.
Even the Sazerac rye, you lose the taste of the turkey completely.
Yeah, I could totally.
It masks it completely.
Yeah.
Completely like
Yeah, it's
You
not.
don't taste anything.
Like I said, the turkey's just super. It's not strong at all. It's just a really. I think it's a really good.
With
turkey.
the popper, you can taste both things, right?
Correct.
With a turkey, you can't taste it at all.
No, it's too. It's too mild a flavor. So honestly, I wouldn't pair these with a turkey. I don't know if anything. I mean, that turkey's super mild.
Yeah. So, but with popper's great.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly with the brisket.
Brisket's got a it's a little stronger.
But
Definitely
overall,
smokier.
we'll come back next episode with, or maybe not next episode with another episode with the brisket. So out of all these, any particular one, or you like them all, or you don't have to necessarily pick one. If you like them all, it's great.
I did enjoy all of them. They all have their own
unique.
Exactly. I agree with you on this one. How they had that a little bit spicier finish. Oh, definitely.
On the backside,
that smooth, and that backside is to get a little heat right there. So if you're into that, a little bit of heat at the end,
you're gonna have to pick smoke wagon.
I'm with you on. That's the one I've drank the most of.
Yeah, tonight I'm gonna have to go to smoke wagon for me at least. I don't know about you, but that's gonna have to go to mine.
Did we do? Honestly, I don't know that I did.
We didn't. We didn't do the water
on the last one. So
we did not. We can try it.
Hello. Welcome to my laboratory.
Something.
I should have took a sip before I did that, so I remember what it was. So I drank this one right before.
To me, it definitely makes it milder to me.
I would agree.
It makes it milder. I still like the overall flavor profile of smoke wagon.
Yes.
It just has more flavor overall to me. But
I'm with you 100%. I like that one the best. I wouldn't turn any of these down.
No.
At all.
No.
Don't get me wrong.
By no means.
Out of those three, my flavor palette with the jalapeno, it worked.
It worked. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple more hours, we'll get a brisket out. We'll tell you how that works.
There you go. Well, thank y'all for joining us on the Whiskey Pit. And until next time, thank you.